Welcome to the Group Dentistry Now Show, the voice of the DSO industry. Kim Larson and Bill Newman talk to industry leaders about their challenges, successes, and the future of group dentistry. Visit groupdentistrynow.com for more DSO analysis, news, and events. Looking for a job or have a job to fill? Visit joindso.com. We hope you enjoy today's show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Group Dentistry Now Show. I'm Bill Newman, and as always, thanks for listening in, or maybe you're watching us on YouTube. But again, we appreciate your support. Without great support, we wouldn't have great guests like the next guest we have on here. You may have seen Brandon Halcott in the past. He was just in December at the ADSO Next Level. And he actually had a session, see if I've got this right. He was talking about navigating the path to a successful DSO sale. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. He experienced that, and maybe he can give you some tips. But Brandon Halcott, who is the co-founder of Seva Dental Team, welcome to the Group Dentistry Now Show.
Thanks so much, Bill. Happy to be here. I'm really excited and appreciate everything that you've done for the industry in the last couple of years. To see where we're at now from where we were in the early teens, it's phenomenal, and looking forward for the industry to keep growing alongside Dentistry Now.
Yeah, this is, it's interesting. So I think your timing getting into the industry was very similar to our timing, Group Dentistry Now coming in 2014 timeframe, somewhere right around there. Are you 2013? Is that when Tru Family started?
Ish. We started looking in 13 and closed our first deal, first affiliation in 2014.
Yep. So very, very similar. So we've seen a lot of change in the industry in 10 years. So let's talk before we get into all that, because we've got a lot to talk about. We have Tru Family Dental to talk about. We have Seva Dental Team, and there's quite a bit of time in between the two. So maybe before that, your background and then how you got into dental.
Yeah, absolutely. I always start with that I was born and raised on a farm in central Illinois, 30 minutes from a stoplight, graduated high school with 50 kids. So it was very rural. We had corn, soybeans, and then black Angus heifer beef cattle. So those were the crops or the livestock that we had. I think non-traditional background. I always just start there because that's a big piece of who I am. And then went to school, used sports to be able to get to a good school, went to University of Chicago, played football, ran track. And then after that, went on a career on finance. And I did okay in finance, worked really hard, personable, did well in terms of connecting with management teams. I think that was that background in terms of farming and other things there. But then after that, it wasn't that I was in having a ton of success. I just hadn't found what I was great at yet. And so went to business school. And then after that, a more entrepreneurial path. And at that point in time, there was a car repair company that I worked on for a bit. It was performing services similar to Safelite. And then a beauty school roll up. And then finally, Tru Family Dental. And hey, how'd you make that connection or get the leap into dentistry? And when I was before business school, I worked at a private equity fund that owned a physical therapy roll-up. And so we were either opening up new clinics or buying clinics in an area and putting them under one umbrella. So I got to see the multi-unit outpatient healthcare game from an operator perspective, investor perspective, and had known that dental was around. I mean, Midwest Dental was here at that time, Smile Brands, Heartland, Pacific, Aspen. Some of those were doing affiliations and some of them were de novo only. But I had known that existed and really thought that like the skill set that I had developed until that point in time would be really applicable for the industry, which was very fragmented and continues to be fragmented and had low technology adoption. Like I struggle with a blank sheet of paper, but if there's a painting and my job is to make that painting better, I do better there, and I enjoy that, and I guess I do well there. So hey, that's so that's how I came to dental, and have had the opportunity to build and sell one company, as you mentioned, and then Seva Dental is our new holding company that we're building here. And so continue to love the industry and the opportunity available.
So 2014, Tru Family Dental starts, based in Midwest Group, right? Talk a little bit about the model, and was it all acquisition? Was it de novo? Was it what we would consider a traditional DSO, or was it more a partnership model? What was Tru Family like?
So the all affiliation based. So we were buying offices, mostly from retirees. We always share the story that the first individual that sold us their practice, he had passed away. So couldn't get anyone alive to sell us an office. So we bought an office from an estate, and that's how we got started. 3 chairs, a couple $100,000 of revenue. Fantastic story with that practice, because now it's doing phenomenally well. I think approaching $2 million of revenue, and going to be a 12 operatory office very soon. So there's that's where it all started. And but we were very traditional in the sense of GP focused and retirees. So, and putting them under one holdco, and then bringing new associates in. Those associates could buy into the holdco. There was no practice level economics of the JV structures that we're hearing about today. So I'd call it a very vanilla, what a typical DSO, or what the industry had seen for a long period of time, with the caveat of the holdco equity that we were selling. But that took a while to get to that type of model that we had. And I mean, another story that we always share is we affiliated with an office, and the office manager asked we're 2 offices, and she kind of oversaw both of them and said, "What are you doing for credentialing of the doctors?" And we looked at her, Navish and I, my partner, with the blank stares. So that was mid morning, like late morning. And so that afternoon, her resume was up on Indeed, because she had no faith in Tweedledee and Tweedledum being able to carry the business forward, or succeed for that matter. She shared that story with us maybe a year or 2 later at a holiday party, ran rev cycle for us, and has joined us again actually for Seva. So we learned a lot out of the gate. We broke a lot of bones, but luckily never lost an appendage and bled out. But it was a trial by baptism by fire, and kept growing, kept learning, and ultimately was able to put a great group of practices together and do a lot for our patients and the team members, which was what we set out to do out of the gate.
So early on, we have a farmer that goes to college, right, and then starts a DSO. And the reason I bring up the farmer side of it is it's not uncommon, right? We have Rick Workman, who started out that way, and we also have Wayne Mortensen of Mortensen Dental was a farmer as well. So it's I guess it's not as uncommon as you think. So there has to be something that you learned on the farm that's translatable to running a multi-site dental group, right?
And Effingham wasn't far from Streeter, and I've made the pilgrimage down, and even before the transaction that we were able to do together with Heartland. So Rick and Pat and the rest of the team got to meet all of them. But there is that thread of uniformity there amongst a couple of us, and I think the problem solving is the interesting piece, because you can't take the combine to the 7-Eleven and fill it up, and you have to pre-plan, and you have to be very prepared. And then if something happens, it's on you to figure it out. And the beauty of the DSO model in terms of a practice had that same type of experience where they're on their own, but then when they join a DSO, they've got all these other services and support that can happen. And so I see that, hey, you're not just, maybe you're a co-op farmer then, where you're not just taking your crops to market on your own. You've got a support of a co-op there to help you do it. And I mean, it works great, but yeah, the problem solving and other pieces that I had to work through every day while working with my father. I still leverage those skills today all the time.
So we're at Tru Family Dental, started 2014. And as we, move through the decade, we hit COVID. And so we're in 2020. And then you ended up finding that strategic partner in early 21 or late 2020, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's correct, Bill. So December 21st, I believe, was the day the transaction closed of 2020. And we were building something that we thought would continue to go on. And Heartland approached us, and there was an opportunity. I mean, we knew them very well. As I mentioned, had spent time with them, and we had markets that they wanted to be in that helped them out from a geographic footprint perspective. And COVID made it hard for the solo practitioner transactions because they didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, no one knew what was going to happen. And so we got out, we had always been in touch with Heartland, and they said that they hinted at, hey, we'd love to do something together if the time is ever right. And during COVID, we just kept talking with them, and ultimately was able to consummate a transaction, created a lot of shareholder value. And I think of the 50 some providers that transitioned to Heartland, there was one had left in that first year. I mean, we cared a lot about the culture and the team and what we built, and Heartland provided a incredible opportunity for our team to keep growing and to keep serving their patients at a higher level. I mean, we're all aware of the world-class CE that they have there and the commitment to great technology. And those were something that we never would have been able to do on our own in the near future. And that opportunity was really important to us. And I think the Tru Family, the offices, and the partnership with Heartland has continued to go well. And so we're very excited that that's how everything turned out. But at the same time, like, we weren't building something to sell to a strategic. We'd always thought that a sponsor would be more interested in in Tru Family. And we built it that way in terms of the amount of management team and corporate overhead that we have to continue to grow. And so that, and there was no plan. If you look at in 19, when we were putting our plan together for 2020, there wasn't a plan to, hey, we need to have a transaction this year. All came about very quickly, and at the end of the day, very, very happy with how everything turned out.
So again, I go back to what I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. You were at the ADSO, and you were talking about navigating the path to a successful DSO sale. So do you have any tips, maybe some things that worked out really well? Like you said, you really did plan for a sale in 2020. You certainly didn't plan for a sale to a strategic. So you were looking more for a sponsor. So anything you might have done differently, or just like you said, any tips for the folks that weren't at that ADSO next level meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. And our belief was that if we built something that could work for a strategic or a sponsor, there'd just be more demand, right? It's always supply demand in the world. And if more people are interested in the asset, then there'll be, hopefully you're creating more shareholder value at that point. So we thought about that in terms of building it. For your question there around lessons learned and things of that nature, you have to be prepared in terms of the business with your ability to produce financials and data and analysis. So if there isn't one practice management software, so maybe you have a couple that are in there, but then there's a way, either with a program over the top or a data pool with business intelligence on top of it, that you're able to get that data. Like, that's very important. Also having clear documentation from as I mentioned, we were an affiliation-based organization. So having each of the deals that we've done, the pro formas that we did at close, as well as the performance of them thereafter, and positives, negatives, things of that nature. The documentation pieces, I just look back, and that was all very well received because we had all those pieces together, and they could look back historically and see why this deal was done, what the pro forma was, and what it was on a go forward. Some of the other ones that are just blocking and tackling are around PCI compliance, HIPAA compliance, really having all of those having that buttoned up and having the proper documentation, your payroll system or your human capital management system, being able to show when everyone has taken a HIPAA compliance log, OSHA, those type of things. It's really important to have all of those things that could prevent the deal, not from happening, but just cause a problem in it, right? Like get all of those handled at the beginning. Another piece that we shared there at the ADSO meeting was around if you own your buildings or you own your practices, those type of things, creating leases for when you go into the transaction, the leases that you want to create. Now, if it's going to be more favorable for the landlord, that'll obviously be a hit from an EBITDA perspective. And so you got to weigh the pros and cons, but just know that when you're going in, you want to have anything that you have, like have that buttoned up into the future from a go forward perspective, because they're going to be assuming those leases. So you'd want to, if you are the landlord and the tenant, make those, get those set up prior to, and have those long-term relationships or long-term leases that you might want to have there, get that done beforehand. So those are a couple bits of information that we shared there at the ADSO meeting, as you mentioned, Bill.
So you're on the other side of the transaction. Now you're part of Heartland. What did that look like? You were there for a little while, and then how did you transition from being part of Heartland, leaving that, and starting Seva Dental? Why Seva Dental Team? Why would you want to do it again?
You're not the only person that's asked me that. Some people are a little more aggressive in terms of, are you crazy? And that was a couple times at ADSO, people asked me that. So really enjoy building businesses. And what's great with dental is you really get to serve your patients and help them. I mean, the link between oral health and overall health, that's life-changing for some people. And so I really enjoy those facets of it. In terms of the piece around Heartland, we transacted, and then we're responsible for helping them transition the business to the Heartland operating system. And once they had everything done there, I was on call if needed, and kept working for them through, I think it was August of 21, and then had the and then at that point, hey, what do you want to do next? And our family, we've got young children. At that point, we had 3. Now we have 4. And we went to Nicaragua for a year and spent some time down there and decompressed. Played. I was at home with my wife every day, and the empathy of understanding what that's like. I just talk about the kids, like they have no incentive to do anything that you really want. And so I'd be like, hey, do you want a purple crayon? Yeah, I want a purple crayon. Okay, so I'd video my son or daughter saying, I want a purple crayon. Then I'd go to the store and get the purple crayon, and then come home and I'd say, I said green. It's like, no, look at this video. I'm going to get it on my phone and hold it up. And nope, that wasn't me. That was someone else. It's just crazy. It's so hard. And my wife and I both agreed, hey, you really enjoy, like Brandon, you really enjoy building businesses, and you have a lot of fun with it. You get to see the team grow and those type of things. So what do you want to do again? And Namish and I talked a bunch, and we really just love the opportunity that continues to exist in dental, and believe we can keep growing and keep building a larger business this time, and continue to serve patients and team members on a very high level. And I think being rooted in that from a cultural perspective, hopefully that'll lead to similar success that we had with Tru Family.
So tell us a little bit about Seva Dental Team, maybe like what's behind the name, and then how is it different than Tru Family?
Yeah, absolutely. So Seva is a Sanskrit word for service. And that's where we come from in terms of what the organization will be entirely based upon, right? So service is so important. It's service to each other as colleagues and team members, and it's service to our patients. And if we have that as our focal point, and that's our true north, I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of what we'll be able to do with the business. Geographically, we're starting in the Midwest, so similar to Tru. I think that we are going to bring more technology into the practice and immediately, and that would be the scanning capabilities, both for removable orthodontics and then crowns and other pieces there. So we're going to really push that forward and really try to bring that into the organization earlier. There's a couple other small strategic differences, I'd say, but I mean, we'll still be GP focused. We're still going to be doing affiliations to grow. So we've no desire to do any de novos at this point in time. But then we're going to stretch the geography because we'll start in the Midwest, but then want to go to the Southwest, to Utah, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, take advantage of some of those tailwinds from a population growth perspective. So do plan to build density in the Midwest first, and his density 15 to 30 offices in an area probably, and then we'll expand from a geographic perspective, as I mentioned, to the Southwest.
This is a question that I'm always curious about because everybody seems to have a different answer, and some of it, I guess, is definition. But where does it seem like we are as an industry from a consolidation perspective? We hear percentages thrown around a lot, but you've got a really good perspective because you've been doing this for over a decade now. So does it feel more consolidated and is it more consolidated in certain markets?
We're definitely more consolidated. You look at the deals just the consolidators have done over the last 10 years. But at the same time, when we both got started in this industry a decade ago, it was still a little edgy. There were some providers who wouldn't talk to a DSO. And a DSO, ADSO did a tremendous amount of job and all the other groups out there to make sure that the negative sentiments were what actually, that wasn't reality, but there were negative sentiments in the market. And so you've got an amount of providers that before they wouldn't have considered affiliating with the DSO, but now that's something that's able to do so. Yes, the market is 20-ish percentage points in terms of consolidation of the 160 DSOs that are out there in the country. But now there's that population that only would have sold to another provider that is way more comfortable with a DSO transaction. And so even though I think there's more competition. I mentioned the number of DSOs, but at the end of the day, there's I think a larger deal flow because your broker network has increased considerably within the space. So it's a little bit Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts-esque, where Starbucks grew the market. Dunkin' Donuts has a smaller pie, but the market's so much bigger. There are a lot more brokers out there, and I think there's a larger supply of practices. Your question around geographically, I think that, obviously the Sun Belt states, they've had a lot of penetration and there's a lot, there's people moving there and that's why the DSOs want to be there. So you've got those pieces of Florida, Georgia, Texas, but then you've got Arizona that's growing so fast and so new. There's ample opportunity from a de novo perspective there. So those are a couple of thoughts that I had and what I've seen over like when we started, there was a broker or two per market, like per geography. And now there's 5 to 10 brokers in each market that are doing affiliations on a recurring basis. So I think the supply is greater. And which is great because then you can have your pick in terms of the strategy of the organization and how you're thinking about serving patients.
You mentioned the dentists that have become maybe less negative to the DSO model, and the models are also different now, right? You've got your traditional DSOs. You had some providers that maybe weren't necessarily doing what's best for the provider or the patient way back when. And now I think you have more competition, so there's more to choose from. The models are different. I think I would say the majority, 99.9% of the DSOs are providing, excellent patient care and also, doing right by the provider. So, what do you beyond like dentists warming up to the idea of possibly partnering with a DSO?
Yeah.
What else are dentists looking for? It seems like they understand that now it's not just, the value of their practice isn't based on a percentage of their revenue. They understand EBITDA a little bit more. What else do you see from them? And what are they looking for in a partnership today?
Yeah, your point around how there's the different models. I think that's this industry, multi-$100 billion industry, and you could serve. Oh, we're a front teeth only dental office, right? There's so many ways to segment the market, and you can build out a great little bit, or not a little business, a great big business in any segment of the market. So the proliferation of different flavors. So only purchasing retirees is one model might be only gonna partner with people that JV structure where they're owning some of the practice and continue to know that and will be running the practice. De novo model in terms of where you're hiring from, age of dentists that are coming out of school. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can go to market because of the size of the market. And so your question around what are dentists looking for? I think it depends on it matters what the dentist actually wants, because now you've got an incredible supply of different types of DSOs that they might choose to go work with, partner with, sell to, and retire, all these types of things. So there's a tremendous amount of choice available, and that's what's really important. And that's what's important to Seva, is really understanding what the provider wants to accomplish with the affiliation, with the transaction partnership, and seeing if we're the right partner for them, because we're not the right partner for everyone. And just conversely, other groups that are out there, they're the right partner for some and not the right partner for others. So it's really at this point in time, as the market's maturing, there's more opportunity and more choice, and people can find specifically what they want. Like if you're 40 some years old and have a 15-year runway, well, what's going to make more sense for you, because you still want to treat, manage the team, provide X, Y, and Z, and there's groups that make sense for that type of that type of desire of what the provider wants to do with this transaction.
So I'll flip the question: what type of dentist or what type of practice does Seva Dental Team want?
I mean, we're trying to be, our goal is to be the best practice in the neighborhood where we're serving patients. It's not Seva's goal to be the best DSO in the country. It's the best in the neighborhood we're serving, because those are the patients that we care about, and that's where we're trying to really get them to an optimal oral health perspective. So it's a neighborhood practice, a provider that's been providing quality care, and you can see that in terms of reviews of patients and chart audits and things of that nature. And we're really trying to step into that. And they're what they care about is someone who's going to take care of their patients and someone who's going to take care of their team. Because, as I mentioned, hey, it's all about service here at the beginning. That's our true north. And so we're looking to serve a team, and then we're looking for the team to serve patients. So that's what we care the most about. And it's finding a provider that's got those type of philosophical alignment, and that makes sense for us, and someone that they're ready in short order. What period of time is that? Is that a year? Is that 3 years? But looking to sell their practice and then slow down and bring an associate in to continue to serve their patients and to work with their team. And so that's the optimal type candidate for Seva Dental Team.
So what are you seeing in the market right now? We've obviously, things are quite a bit different in 2024 from the economic perspective. We all just go to the grocery store and we all can see some of the differences. But what are some of the challenges that you see operating a DSO today, maybe that you didn't have
Yeah.
You'd mentioned technology. You certainly have a lot more opportunity for technology. It's amazing the advancements that we've had in the past 10 years. Sometimes it's probably difficult to figure out, what's the smartest investment from you can invest all your money in technology, and that might not be the best route to go. So there's a lot of opportunity there. You had talked more of the technology you were looking at was more around maybe digitizing some things, this 3D printing, opportunities like that. What type of technologies are you looking for? What challenges do you see? This again, this could be a podcast unto itself, but maybe what are some of the things you're seeing right now that you didn't experience with Tru Family?
Yeah, I mean, look, you mentioned the grocery store. So, in the grocery store, the items are more expensive. Well, why are they more expensive? And it's the cost to create those items that have gone up. So just like every other industry in the DSO world, in the dental industry, there's been inflation from a wage perspective, and then a supply and lab perspective. And those are major buckets from a P&L perspective. And so at Seva, we've looked at ways to streamline more of our processes, and that could either be at a support level, so the office that's supporting all the practices in terms of how we're doing accounts payable, maybe payroll, any of these things. Like what's nice is we've started from a blank slate, and so we had a bunch of learnings from Tru. If we did this differently, if we set this process up, because we care deeply about the efficiency there, because look, you've got the pressure that I mentioned around some of your major costs, your labor, labs, and supplies. And so where are areas that we might be able to win back there? So we've been focused as we thinking about software within the operations or support of the practices. And then if you look at within the practice, the growth in technology, that was, I mentioned early on, like fragmented industry and low technology adoption. Like, it was hard to move a practice previously. Like 30 some affiliations that we did, we converted every software to one single PMS. And that was challenging to make those transitions and then get a new imaging system in there and things of that nature. As we circle back now, a decade later, when we've talked with teams of offices that we've affiliated with about the software conversion, it's not met with like an incredible amount of anxiety and stress that it will create at that very moment, not even having started it yet. But and that's been a piece that we've seen. We're like, okay, more technology has been brought into the practices in general, and so this won't be as a large of a hill to climb around the. So that's like number one from a single practice management software. The other piece is what tech can we bring in to help with getting someone from an optimal oral health perspective, and the scanning technology that I talked about earlier. Like that's able to patients are able to see real time what's transpiring and what's changed in their mouth since their last visit, and that just helps get someone to really be more comfortable with saying yes to any of the treatment plan that a provider's diagnosing. And I think there's those pieces, and then patient education around treatment plan and what the actual product is doing. Another piece would be the recare from a software perspective of communicating with patients, not only over email and text and phone, working in the software, the practice management software, to see when the last time a patient has been there, or if they've lapsed, reactivating them. Because look, it's about 50% of Americans that aren't going to the dentist on a regular basis. And what can we do, and how does technology help America get back to a higher rate of consumption of dental care? Because oral health and overall health. So those are pieces that are important to us. And that's how we've thought about technology, even coming into the practice more to mitigate some of the challenges that have taken place in the last couple of years around pressures on three very large line items on the P&L.
As we start to wrap up the podcast, what does the rest of 2024 look like for Seva Dental Team? Yeah, I've had a couple of acquisitions recently. Certainly, the people that are watching or listening, you can follow Seva on LinkedIn right now, and you can see you guys do a great job of keeping things updated there. But what does 2024 look like for Seva?
Yeah, I mean, this is our year of building the foundation to have that to then grow in 25. And right now we're focused on the technology pieces that we mentioned. So getting one software within the practices and starting our growth there to have that, putting in other systems and tools really this is a building year. We just got started. As you mentioned, we've affiliated with 3 offices to date. We have another affiliation on Friday, and then there's a couple more LOIs that are signed. So it's been great growth, but what we really want to do is not grow too fast where we don't have the systems, resources, and capabilities to serve our team and serve our patients. So spending a lot of time on getting all of those systems built. And then, for 25, we would really look to start operating with some of our systems and continuing to grow from an affiliation perspective. So it's the year of work and building the foundation for the house, so to speak, but excited that we get this opportunity because there's just so many new great products and services from a software and other IT. And there's so much great stuff out there to be able to build a business now, and really looking forward to getting that all done. And then, and finding some great offices to affiliate with next year and some great team members to bring in from a support perspective for those offices. So that's where we're going to be mainly focused this year. And, our overall performance so far for our practices has been good. It's still dental overall is a couple percentage point type growth per year. And a lot of that's driven by your children's dentistry that states are supporting. So the cohort that you're a member of, Bill, and that I'm a member of, we haven't been consuming dental care. And so that's our job, as I mentioned, to serve patients and get them to their oral health. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are not coming to the dentist every year, and we're trying to use everything that we can to help connect with them and bring them in.
So Brandon, if people in the audience might have some docs that have practices that might think they could be a good fit for Seva Dental, how do they get in touch with you? How do they find out more about Seva?
Yeah, absolutely. Just shoot me an email or giving me a ring. But the email is just bhalcott@sevadentalteam.com. And look forward to connecting with anyone, not only if they've got a practice that they're thinking about selling, but look, what I love most about the industry is how open and sharing everyone is. Like in 14, when I had no idea and rang Doug Brown and Jeff Moose and Pat Bauer, and all of these individuals are just outstanding human beings, like great people. And I'm just looking forward to carrying it forward what they did for me. And collectively, I mentioned this to you when we caught up in January. What's been so great about the industry is how we've brought out all this incredible content for one another, and we all continue to get better at the same time, because that's what's most important. Because who's that going to serve then? That's going to serve the patient. And so it doesn't have to be someone reaching out if they've got a practice for sale. No, if you got a question about how we did what, or you want to learn from some of my lessons so you don't make the same mistake, please reach out. I'm happy to spend time, and because so many more, I look forward to paying it forward and continuing to help this industry grow together. And really appreciate what you do all the time, Bill, for the industry. And that's how we're all going to get better. So definitely abundance, and please reach out. Happy to help and share what we've learned, and hopefully you don't make some of the same mistakes that we made.
Well, we'll drop your email address in the show notes, and I definitely I appreciate what you're saying. You're right. Back in 2014, there weren't as many resources out there. There weren't as many places to go to get information. And now today there's probably an overabundance of information, which sometimes it can be challenging too. So it's great. I appreciate you, making yourself available to not just people that may want to partner with Seva, but just may want to just leverage the knowledge that you've had over the past decade. So that is important in this industry. Is it is great that you see people like that. That it can be competitive, but you can still share knowledge and not be worried about sharing that secret sauce, right? Because inevitably it's you may have a very similar model than somebody else, but it's a lot of it's in the execution, right? So that's really where it comes down, where the rubber meets the road. But thank you, everybody. First off, thank you, Brandon. It's been a long time. I've been wanting to get you on the podcast for a long time, so glad we're able to do that. And again, thanks to the audience for listening in. Appreciate it. This is the Group Dentistry Now Show. Until next time, I'm Bill Newman.
The Group Dentistry Now Show has listeners across North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. If you like our show, subscribe today, and please tell your colleagues about us.